wish I had this beautiful story of I'm such a Zionist, I fell in love, only be in Israel for a year for my master's degree. 10 years later, I'm still here. Felt like I was my truest self here. I got to just be Jillian. The fact that I was able to come into a startup and grow so quickly, that doesn't necessarily happen in the United States either. You have a shared identity here with every single person you see on the street. And I don't know any other country on earth that you can say that about.
Welcome back to Yalla, Let's Go, the podcast that Erica and I started to remind ourselves and hopefully some of you why we made Aliyah and live in Israel. We are talking to people from the tech industry, authors, chefs, journalists, you name it. And today we're super lucky that Jillian Goldberg is joining us. Before we jump in, I want to ask Erica, host check, how are you feeling about living in Israel this week?
Well, we were just having a conversation the other day about the education system here and how, sometimes we just feel like there's so much lacking for our kids, especially compared to the education that we got growing up or the education they could be getting in the States. And, I was actually thinking afterwards a lot about it. And there is something that I do feel like they're getting here that I definitely didn't get growing up, which is the values. There's a level of deep values, human core values about being a good person, helping somebody in need, how to just be a person that you could be proud of.
Yeah. The social contract.
Exactly. That you do get here that I feel like I got none of.
Yeah.
I might have had very high level math and English and science. I wish they had that.
By the way, I think my husband had it here. I think it was different a couple decades ago than I think what our kids are getting now.
But I do think they're getting that informal education.
1,000%.
That is also so valuable.
1,000%. I would, if anyone knows any educators that they can recommend for us to interview on the podcast, yes, send them on.
Yeah, sure. We got on our way.
Yes. That being said, Jillian Goldberg is with us, coming straight from Teach from America. Not straight from, but Jillian is with us in Olah from the United States. She has been a CRO. She is currently an investor. She has also been on Israeli Ninja, but actually does have a background in the United States at Teach for America. We have a lot to get into, and we're super grateful that you're here.
Well, love to be here.
We are going to ask you, if possible, to tell us your life story in under a minute.
Go. I was going to say, is the timer on? Wow, that's a big one. Born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio, so not necessarily like all the other Olim.
Go Bengals.
Go Bengals. No. Excuse me. We did fight when we played the Dolphins, by the way.
Yes, we were we're not speaking for a few days.
Sorry, you have to give me Dolphin swag. I got
that. But we host a podcast together. You have to be on my side.
I indoctrinated her children. I bought all of them. My mother's from Alabama. My father's from Kentucky. Super non-traditional. All the Jews. Went to Tulane University right after Hurricane Katrina. Wanted to go to med school. Got into medical school. Not sure I wanted to do that. Actually then went to Teach for America when it was really at its heyday. Really tough to get in. An incredible program. I still think it's an incredible program, even if I don't align with all the political values. And was an inner city high school physics and chemistry teacher in Dallas. Lived through everything you see on TV, gang shootings. I had a kid give birth in my classroom. I mean, just crazy stuff. And actually one of my students, their uncle was patient zero for Ebola. So I was in the Ebola zone and found a program here at Tel Aviv University. I got a master's in emergency and disaster management. And while I was there, one of my professors was starting his company. He was a 24-year vet of special ops in the Israeli Air Force. And team had actually built the cyber defense systems in the F-15, F-16, F-35, and the Iron Dome. And they were going to bring that to the automotive industry. And I came on as the first non-technical employee and grew into the global CRO. Actually, and if I tell you a little bit on the defense side of that, while I was there, actually was someone from DevCom, which is the ground vehicles of the Army, reached out to me directly and said, listen, we're having this issue. One of our tanks was hacked by one of the Baltic states, and we don't know what to do. And we released this RFI. And I said, we really don't want to be a defense contractor. We know that. And I said, okay, we'll answer. And lo and behold, we won that. And I actually stood up and built our entire U.S. subsidiary in Detroit. And we sold cyber products to the ground vehicles of the U.S. Army, which is really funny because I used to have to hide that from everyone. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell investors. It wasn't something I could sell. That we did defense, that we sold to defense. We had investors say no, and now everyone's talking about defense, and it's like defense is sexy, which is really funny. So now I actually have the honor to be a GP at a new fund called CET Ventures. It's Critical and Emerging Technologies. It's actually a list the U.S. government puts out of technologies they see as critical to the national security of the United States.
Wow.
And so that's sort of what we invest out of. It's really amazing.
Okay, take a step back for a minute.
Nachon.
Why did you move to Israel? Why did you make Aliyah?
I wish I had this beautiful story of I'm such a Zionist, I fell in love, and yes, I'm a Zionist, and I came here for my master's degree, signed a contract. If my parents ever find it, I need to burn it. That said, I will only be in Israel for a year for my master's degree, and 10 years later, I'm still here. I think there's something just so magical. You can't come here and live here. And I felt like I was my truest self here. I got to just be Jillian. I feel like, especially in America, I got stuck in this rat race, the keeping up with the Joneses. And here I got to just be me, and everyone meets you there. And especially after what I went through in Teach for America, it was amazing. And my athletic career, I thought my athletic career died with, my last soccer game. And all of a sudden,
I wanted to say, is your life story, you skipped over your sports career and being on Israel's Ninja Warriors. So we want to dig into that for a second.
Yeah, this is funny. I've always tried to separate these two lives. I'm a huge athlete. I grew up as a massive athlete. I was the biggest tomboy. And after soccer ended, it was like all of a sudden, I lost a part of myself. I needed that team. I needed all these things. And I joined CrossFit, which I still think is an incredible workout. Now there's high rocks and all these things, but it's the community. At the end of the day, it's all about the community, and it's about setting goals. And so I got really into CrossFit, and I had this incredible coach that said, "You're really a power lifter," which is hilarious. So
What does that mean?
so I lift. I actually have a few Israeli records for my weight class. I would like to say for my weight class.
That's with the big bar. So sorry, explain it to me.
Powerlifting is a bench press, a deadlift, and a back squat. And so you do your totals. So then you would win the whole thing for pound, the ratios, which I love. As a woman, it's, not as obvious. Obviously, I'm not going to lift as much as the guys, but pound for pound, I can beat them. And so I loved it. It also worked really well with my, everything I was doing. And I also did a bunch of CrossFit competitions. We call it the RFA, which is the big CrossFit competition here in Israel. And just was everything in the sports. It was everything to me. And then I actually was contacted when Ninja Warrior first came to Israel, their first season. They contacted me because I was an athlete, and we didn't have ninja gyms. I didn't know how to train. They wouldn't tell us anything. And I used to go to the climbing gyms and just not use my feet and just climb off the walls without my feet. And so I was on the show. I did not do great. No one the first season did really well.
You don't know how to train. So
The first time on the course was when the cameras were rolling.
Really?
And the funniest part about it,
The rings,
everything. The first time was when the cameras were rolling, and they had to give me a step stool to reach some of the things.
Oh my God.
I was the shortest person that they had, I believe, that season.
Oh my God.
And so the guy came up to me afterwards, was like, "I'm not sure physically you could have even finished this obstacle, because I'm very short. This chair does nothing for me, but I'm very short." And so, yeah.
Is there a video of this somewhere?
There is.
find it.
Yes.
Recommend it. Find it.
Yes. I purposely hide it because it was at this time, actually, EcoMotion had said, "Can we put it on our LinkedIn?" And I was like, I'm in a sports bra and short shorts, that, my professional life. Yeah, I wanted to separate that a lot. So, but yeah, I'm big at the sports are everything to me. Oh, and I was on the national flag football team. I forgot about that.
You said that you joined one of your professors and you became the first non-technical employee. Rebuilding a career in this country from the bottom up is really, really challenging. Can you talk a little bit about how you got that started and how you've grown so tremendously?
Yeah, I will say, actually, the professor, my CEO, Moshe, he gave me some of the best advice anyone's ever given me. And he said, everything you've done is a suitcase of skills. It's not defining what you do. We're not our parents' generation where we're going to start off in an organization or get a degree and do that for the rest of our lives.
Right.
Neither of you have done that either.
Right.
And I think that's what's so beautiful about Israel is that you really can. I feel like in Israel, first of all, Teach for America in the United States means something. It means nothing here.
Yeah.
So
what we did in the United States means
nothing. And so I think for me, it was finding people to believe in me and to see the intangibles that I can bring. You can teach anyone how to do a LinkedIn campaign. You can teach them about your technology. You can't teach them the intangibles, and finding people who see that. So it's really scary. And building my career as the CRO was really scary. And I leaned on a lot of amazing people. I had the Nevo network. I don't think I would have gotten where I am in my career without the community I got in the Nevo network, the confidence I got, just everything, just really feeling connected. It's like, being comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I think I got that from teaching a lot too, right? And putting yourself, putting on a show every single day. I used to say, I'm an actress. Like, I'm not Jillian Goldberg today. I'm an actress. And I used to write my script of who I wanted to be that day. And then all day long, I would just be an actress until I finally stopped acting and I was that person I wanted to be.
Wow.
And so I think even now, this past year has been really hard for me, recreating myself. And also I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting from the bottom. I don't know what it is to be an investor and to work in a VC. And thank God we have AI today to ask all the dumb questions I'm too afraid to ask.
How do I be a VC?
I'll ask what is this acronym? I know I should know what this is, but I think the beauty of that is I say I went to the dark side. I know what it's like to sit in the founder's seat, and now I can actually be a part of the change. And I know that industry, so many people don't get this industry, and it's so hot, and everyone wants to give advice and to put money in it, but they don't. At the end of the day, they don't understand it.
So what made you want to go from building to the investing side?
So I used to say I'm sick and tired of being a slave for other people's dreams. I'm ready to be a slave for my own. And I really thought about doing my own startup. I still have an idea for this startup that I still think could be amazing. But I always wanted to go into VC for such a long time. I think also the idea is I went so deep on a really specific industry and technology, and I like the broad. And I like to build, and I wouldn't want to be a late stage investor because that's, blitz scaling. It's not really building at the beginning and working with people. It also gives me what I got from teaching. I miss that. I miss working with people and helping create things. And I'm still creating this fund. I built it. I didn't just join a fund. I'm building everything. And so I still think of that as building. And it doesn't prohibit me from doing other things and getting everything else that I want to do in the other parts of my life. I still do everything else, and I fill my cup in other ways at the same time.
So it sounds like your cup is very, very full, but I want to dig into this other piece of your identity. In the aftermath of October 7th, you didn't just sit home and grieve, even though you had reasons to. You took this other skill set that you had, this other, whole area of the suitcase, and got to work in the communications effort to help both hostage families and people who weren't sure where their loved ones were, to make sure that they were able to get their stories out there. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, wow, it feels like a lifetime ago, and it also feels like yesterday. I got a call on the 7th from a few close friends about, that were directly affected. And they said, we don't know what to do. The police isn't replying to us. We know that, our loved one was taken. And I said, I don't really know what to do either, but let's figure it out. And I started doing a lot of communications for a number of families, and I started doing a lot of private strategy work for a number of families. This was before the hostage forum was anything. I was doing this when they were still terrorists in Israel. And so what sort of happened with word of mouth is people go, oh, someone's already knows what they're doing. I didn't know what I'm doing. I'm just honestly a few hours ahead of everyone else. And at the same time, I speak American. I don't just speak English, I speak American.
Yep.
And so I started working with a number of families, and I was doing everything. I don't think I slept. It was insane. And I was able to also join the U.S. Hostage Forum in D.C., and work really closely with the U.S. government and our messaging to the U.S. in in general, because unfortunately our hostage families didn't just become, they weren't just there advocating for their loved ones, but they were the voice of the Jewish people at the same time. And with so much anti-Semitism, I actually, total aside, was just on the way here listening to Poison Ivies, which is the book by Elise Stefanik, about what happened in our Ivy Leagues as well. So I, had the amazing opportunity to really be a liaison between here and the United States and working with all these families and doing all their media and messaging, and was there when Bibi came and spoke to Congress and just sorted through everything. I was there, but I was the back burner. Like, my voice was not important. I did so much work, but I was behind the scenes. And the fact that so many of these people came out of Gaza and have no idea who I am is like the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they're out and the fact they don't know who I am and they can go back to being regular people. And so, yeah, I do a lot of communications work still to this day. I work with startups now in communications because of this skill set. But more than that, I think it's being a voice and also being someone who understands communications. We had people who became spokespeople who didn't understand what that means and what messaging means. And when you say one thing, how it's interpreted. And unfortunately, in our world today, it's can do more harm than help sometimes. So how do we really keep the message where it needs to be?
So you did that on a very, professional level, but how did that affect you emotionally? Working with these families day in and day out who didn't know if their loved one was alive or dead or when they'd come home or if they'd come home, and you're trying to help them fight these battles on a global stage. How was that for you?
I mean, quite frankly, I am very good at compartmentalizing, and I compartmentalized all of it, which is something that then I spent the last year rebuilding and fixing, because I really put myself in the back burner. And I didn't cry, I think, after the 7th for 6 months, 8 months. Like, I just couldn't. Like, I feel like I was so numb.
Yeah.
And I didn't even, in those moments, I could talk to people and I would brief reporters very stoically. And I look back at that stuff. I'm like, and the reporters would ask me, like, are you a cold person? And I don't think I'm a cold person. I think it was a survival mechanism that we all had. And so I think the past year, I've really had to take a step back and reevaluate a lot of things, because it was really hard, but I didn't even allow myself to think about myself at all because
you had a job to do.
I had a job to do. And I think that's also what made me effective in a lot of ways, because a lot of times reporters would start crying talking to families. So how do they trust people? How do they, it's very, very hard. And I think it made me effective. It let me do my job. It was the role I had to play. And now I have the fun part of rebuilding and fixing and really putting myself first again.
I want to ask, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this, but what about being this speaking American or being an immigrant has allowed you to build all of these different identities and careers in Israel? And do you think it would have been the same if you were still in the United States?
Oh, God, no. I would not have had these opportunities in the United States. People here don't ask me where I went to school. They don't ask me where I'm they don't ask those things. They meet me where I am. And I think that's also just the Israeli mindset. And the fact that I was able to come into a startup and grow so quickly, that doesn't necessarily happen in the United States either. Nothing against the United States. I was able to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond here.
Yeah.
And really connecting to the I saw my Americanness as an upside. And my Americanness is also being the fact that I grew up in middle America playing sports. I grew up in a very non-Jewish environment, but my parents gave me an incredible Jewish home, and I went to synagogue on the weekends, but I grew up as one of the only Jewish kids in my class, in my grade, in my school. And I think it's not just that I speak American, but I speak the everyday American. And that's when I've been able to harness working here, especially in the go-to-market side that I've been able to do. And also the mentality of a new immigrant, you're not afraid, right? Was it FDR, the only thing to fear is fear itself? I'm not afraid to go and do all these different things, because also in Israel, we don't see failure as a bad thing. How many startups fail?
True. So true.
I talk to investors who say I won't invest in startups, in founders who haven't failed before.
Yeah.
And I think failure is not a bad thing in Israel. And in the States, it's sort of a bad thing. You even see it in your kids.
Yep.
I'm sure your kids are more comfortable failing than they would be if they grew up in America.
Yeah. Oh God, I was petrified of failing. Anytime someone comes to me here and says, should I do this thing? I say it will be so much more interesting to fail and what you learn from that than to stay safe.
1,000%.
And I think it's so much more acceptable here.
It's so much more acceptable.
Okay, I want to talk about your personal life for a second.
Yes.
You met your husband in a gym.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how do you
Teach everyone.
how do you pick up an Israeli guide in the gym?
It's really funny. So the gym was half CrossFit, half fighting. Maidan used to be a professional fighter. And we had friends from the gym because once, for people who don't know CrossFit, it's really a community and it's not creepy. It's not like you're going up to the girl in the in the leggings, right, while she's like on the elliptical. It's a very, very different vibe. And we had mutual friends who were dating. I was just like not interested at all. I thought he was a nice guy, but he just not really interested. He actually says, I thought you hated me for the first few months. And on a Friday afternoon, I was going with a group of people to the beach and I ran into Maidan. He was like stretching and I said, oh, do you want to come with us? Yeah, stretching. Which is really funny.
We're going to need a visual.
If you know Maidan, he stretches every morning. He stretches like all the time. And so he's like, and he didn't come and texted me the next day and said, are you still at the beach? 24 hours later. And the embarrassing part is I grew up in the middle of America. A beach is amazing. And I was at the beach and he came and it's sort of, that was that. Yeah, but I always tell when people are like, it's so hard to meet people. I'm like, go to these sorts of classes. Go to CrossFit. Go to High Rocks. Don't just
Go to communities.
Go to community.
What a great idea. Go to CrossFit if you're looking for love.
Right?
So the gym brings you guys together, but having been to your wedding, which was gorgeous, you are bridging two very different families. Can you talk about what that meant to marry into an Israeli family that's really different than what you grew up in?
So not only is it American and Israeli, but it's Ashkenazi and Mizrahi.
Yeah.
And that I think was actually harder just because like I know my prayers, but I don't know their prayers. They're just so different. He grew up in Ariel, which is in the Shachim. His mother's family's from Libya. His father's family is from Bulgaria. They actually spoke Ladino. Very different. His mother's family spoke Arabic. Very, very different. And merging those, his family, his parents don't really speak English. And merging that.
Trial by fire.
It was trial by fire. It's also the fact that they're a little bit more religious and they're more traditional in that. And, I grew up in America and Reform, one of the actually first Reform communities in the United States. Now, my family is not necessarily Reform, but it was an incredible synagogue and just very different. And we've had a lot of work to get through that cultural differences. But it also opened my eyes to maybe what was not so normal about the way I grew up. He always says, you're too nice, have an opinion. And every time you have a conversation, you always just appease people to keep the peace. And you never have an opinion, and it's not a bad thing to have an opinion.
It's kind of more Israeli by the day.
I become more Israeli, yeah. Right? I say in meetings, I'm going to put my Israeli hat on, then I'll put my American hat on. But my mom sometimes when I come back to America is like, whoa.
You have a pink.
Calm down. Yeah, she's like, okay.
So we've had the three of us had a lot of conversations over the last couple of years about our place here and the States, and we've gone back and forth a bit. And I'd love if you could talk for a little bit about, you've built this whole life here, but are there moments when you're like, why am I here? Should I go back to the US where everything's easy?
I mean, on a daily basis, I think it would be like strange if I didn't. I would love Amazon. I would love customer service. I would love, I was asked to send a fax last week. Also realized my name is misspelled in half my government documents because like a gimel with an opchik, is very difficult. But I get to be my authentic self here. I can't, it's crazy to me right now, at least, I can't relate to America. And that really scares me. Because of the last 2 years and everything we've been through, I just can't relate to some of my friends. And I don't know the America that exists today. I don't know the anti-Semitism. I don't know anything I feel like it scares me. It petrifies me. And that's never to say never, but yeah, this is my home for now, but my family is my home. So wherever my parents and my sister are is also my home. So I can live, two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. What do you love about living here?
I love the connection I have with every single person I see on a daily basis. You have a shared identity here that is beautiful. No matter how different you are, you have this shared identity with every single person you see on the street. And you just can't replicate that. Even when they're cussing you out, screaming at you for whatever reason, in the next moment, what's important. And they're going to be there for you. And I don't know any other country on earth that you can say that about. What other country, is there a horrible event to happen and everyone rushes straight there?
You are very, very active in Olim circles, not just through Nevo, but through the gym, through all of your friends. If you had to, which I know you do so often, give a piece of advice to someone who's considering moving here or someone that just arrived, what would you tell them?
There's a lot of pieces of advice. I actually talked to an Olah yesterday about this. Just do it. Don't be scared. Just jump in, eyes wide open, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I promise you, no one's going to say no. But the worst thing they're going to say is no.
Right.
Right? It's like people are so afraid, but just do it. Everyone wants you here.
It'll be just give me a minute.
Yeah, it's everyone's so afraid. Even when the times get hard, stop and ground yourself and just keep going, because look at our people, look at the Jewish people throughout history. You cannot look at us and not think of an incredible miracle that we exist today. And we got to lean into that, and we got to keep asking and keep going.
Okay, so when you're 80 years old and looking back on your life, what's one thing that you think will have been true because you made Aliyah that wouldn't have been true otherwise?
I've had the most incredible friends that have become family. I have amazing friends in the United States, but my friendships in the United States are surface level compared to what I have here. And I just cannot imagine having a better tribe than I have here right now.
It's beautiful.
And y'all are included.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do some rapid fire. You ready?
I don't know if I prepared for these, but okay, Yalla.
One word answers. Favorite Israeli food or snack?
Krembo.
Oh, that's a first.
I love Krembo. And why is it only around part of the year?
Because it melts. Because it will melt.
Oh,
It's just summer. That's why.
It's a winter snack.
It's a winter snack.
I love Krembo.
Good.
Favorite Israeli slang?
I have to be so original and say sababa because I use it all the time. But Tachles. Actually, I think Tachles. I use Tachles a lot in business. And I'm I don't know how to translate this. How do you translate Tachles?
Like the nitty gritty, the points.
Yeah.
The essence.
Right.
Yeah.
Favorite place in Israel?
The beach. The water. I grew up next to water. It's amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
What does Shabbat look like for you?
Typically, my husband and I go on a motorcycle. We go drive somewhere fun, go to a food cart, go for a hike. It's amazing. Just get out in nature, get out of the merpaz a little bit and really disconnect.
What do you miss most from home? And you can't say our nephew.
Hey, God, I miss him so much. What do I miss the most from home? Besides family, because I feel like my family, that's a kind of a cop-out. I miss sports culture. I miss NFL Sunday. Right? I was it is not the same night from here, right? NFL Sunday.
I'm with you. I come to work the next day and I'm who wants to talk about the game yesterday? And everyone's what game?
And they don't care.
They don't care. They don't get it.
I saw someone with, I walked through the store last week and they had a Bengals hat. They were selling a Bengals hat. I got so excited and they didn't even know what I was talking about.
I don't know. That's actually the worst. The best feeling is if you're wearing, when I'm wearing a dolphin sweatshirt, I'm in the train station and all of a sudden someone will be yeah, fins up. Or even if they're dolphins suck. I'm football. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I said "Hooday" yesterday to someone in Serona and they were what? I'm do you know what you have on? It was they just knew Joe Burrow models for Alo Yoga, apparently.
Oh, God.
Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation.
Of course. Thank you so much. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with everyone you know. Yalla, let's go.
Yalla, let's go.